Welcome to Game Guys. I'm your host Bricks, and today we're going to be going over the top 5 tips to improve your machine gunner gameplay in Hell Let Loose. Before we get started, I'd like to give a special shout out to our friends at Team Asylum Gaming. You can check them out at discord.gg/teamasylum. Tip number 1, recoil and controlled burst. If you're like me, sometimes you just want to jump into the game and lay hate on your enemies, and the MG is the perfect role to do that with. However, you have to know how to properly control the weapon to be effective in the role. And for many, this can be really difficult to learn. But sit back, buckle up, hit that like and subscribe, and let's get into how to rock a machine gun. First off, what is recoil? Recoil is when you fire the weapon recoils back, or it draws back to its original location whenever the spring hits and the gas fires. So every time that happens, the weapon tends to bounce around. To keep the recoil down, you have to move your mouse against the recoil to keep the recoil limited so that you're shooting a laser instead of praying and spraying. Also, in the real world, you can melt the barrel, so you want to use these things called controlled bursts. Not only in the real world do they not ruin the weapon, but they in fact make it easier for you to fire because it limits recoil and helps you stay on target. Tip number 2, know your sectors of fire. Typically when I play a machine gun role, I'm defending a point. The reason being is I can set in place, have a certain sector of fire that my squad leader gives me, or if he's not talking, that I choose myself, and I'm watching that area to make sure that nobody can get through. Due to the machine gun's extremely high rate of fire, you alone can hold down an entire avenue of approach, allowing the rest of your team to watch the other points to your back. Tip number 3 is to always have patience. A machine gunner posted up in a certain area just watching and waiting on someone to come down a road is not always the most exciting part of the game, but once stuff pops off, you're going to be one of the squad's most integral assets because you're going to be the one that's suppressing the enemy or taking them out as they try to get to you. Tip number 4, suppression. So what is suppression? The machine gunner does not have to actively be hitting the enemy while engaging to be a valued asset to the squad. Hell Let Loose has a robust suppression system, so just firing nearby an enemy over their head or close to them will stop the enemy from effectively being able to engage you or your squad mates. Tip number 5, cover versus concealment. Now this is a tip that all classes and all roles can use, but it's extremely important to be used correctly. Cover and concealment are two different things. Cover is, like it sounds, hard cover. Things such as a building or a bunker, something you can get behind or inside of to stop you from being hit or seen by the enemy. Concealment, on the other hand, are things to obscure where you are, such as smoke or foliage or things like that, where you can be shot through them, but it's hard for you to be seen inside of them. So make sure you're using cover or concealment based on the terrain, where you are, and the needs of the squad and team. One quick bonus tip that I really didn't feel like deserved its own place in the top 5 is to deploy your bipod. You can do this by holding F anywhere where you're laying on the ground or there's a window or something that you can place the bipod on, but doing this drastically reduces the recoil and helps you aim better. And as always guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. If you enjoyed our content, hit that like and subscribe so you'll be notified every time we come out with a new video. And until next time, see you in game.